Welcome to Coach Lacey's podcast, It Takes What It Takes, hosted by Coach Andrew Lacey. Coach Lacey is the head men's basketball coach at Richard Bland College and founder of Andrew Lacey Basketball. Today is episode 7, and what's special about episode 7, we're still talking about off-season development and coaches getting better in the off-season. We have a special guest that's here with us today. For those that are out there, today's podcast is being recorded live stream, so we have a video portion to go with this show this week, as well as the audio. So it's another great opportunity that we can come to you and help, promote your program, with you getting better, and talk about X's and O's. And because this is for the coaches, please make sure you subscribe, leave a 5-star review, follow us on Instagram, Andrew Lacey Basketball, our Facebook page, Andrew Lacey Basketball as well. And you can follow me on Twitter at Coach_Lacey5. But today, I'll let him introduce himself. Brand new head coach. This is what we really started the show on, is for me to help young coaches with inexperience that didn't really have any guidance and were looking for information, because I was once there. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and let my special guest introduce himself, tell you where he coaches at, and a little bit about himself.
I'm Coach Kelly. I'm glad to be here. I'm the new head coach at Kinston Forest out in Blackstone. I was the JV coach. I was the assistant coach this year. When I came in, it was already works behind the scenes to try to get me to the head coaching job, knowing that that coach was about to leave. So I always had a JV experience. Coming from Thomas Jefferson High School, and this is my first opportunity to be the head coach. So a lot of things that I was searching for as being the head coach, being the main leader, the only leader that's going to set the tone for my staff, I didn't have to do in the past. As a JV coach, my job was to fit in, find out what the coach wanted, especially the head coach, and groom the players that I had for the next level, which was the varsity. So being put in that spot as the head coach now, I have to set a tone, and that's what I'm doing now, is searching for information. And it's amazing how you can YouTube everything or Google it, but there's not much out there about starting a program over. The program I'm at, we had some coming in rough years. This year we won 5 games, and I've never been with a team that went through so much, but the kids had heart. We started out with 10, and we kind of ended up with like 6 players at the end of the year due to other elements. But I'm just glad for this podcast and you sharing information that's not really out there. So I'm just here trying to learn and better myself for the kids that's coming through the program.
Because we're really glad to have you. It's one of those things. Blessing on this side is trying to get information back, and sometimes you wonder, like, what information do people need? Right. And you see so much, on Twitter. Everybody has a great X and O play. Everybody does the thing. What to do when you have a good program? This is what I do. This is how you get kids. Nobody talks about the dog days when you have to struggle and get those teams up and coming. But and like I said, in that sense, we were there. Also, in this podcast, I'm gonna bring back my assistant, Coach Scott, has joined us here today, and in this one, he is also looking to eventually become a head coach in his own right. Just there, so it's a good opportunity to share it. You get it from how it was done at some college level. You also get it, how we do it here and how I've done it in the past. So feel free to talk. It's a 2-part. When I say 2-part, it's still one podcast. Got to really check out our YouTube channel. I will really send it out for the video portion of, talking about some of the basketball concepts, structuring the practice side point that we'll have there that you can't really see on this video. But to start with it, Coach, to say man taking over and nobody knows the dog days of taking over a program that doesn't win, doesn't win, but hasn't had much success in winning. So I know you feel very, very overwhelmed. You hadn't quite been able to enjoy the fact that, hey man, I finally get a chance to become a head coach and that you're a head coach. So let's talk through those first this first off season and leading up to the year as we have a lot of time. As we were talking before the show, man, when I took over, became a head coach. I was 26 years old. Spent 2 years as a JV assistant coach. Never in my life had I been a head coach before, and all I had was 2 years of, I played in college and I had a lot of college playing experience. So that information, when I took over a girls program and they had split and they had won 7 games in like the past 2 to 3 years, it was crazy. Because I didn't really know what's the first thing do you do, because I knew the basketball side of it. And it branched into a new school. So I was involved with ordering the uniforms and ordering the practice gear and ordering some of the things that I'd never done a day in my life, fundraising, the behind the scenes of those parts. So today we'll take it, bit by bit. If there's something that I missed, it's more so kind of ask that question. And Taj can chime in at question about the building of the program from a different perspective. But I'll talk about this is the most important thing is you gotta have a vision, man. And I really don't know what your vision is. You going in, we've talked through text, but you gotta have a vision. Even when I came here, I really broadcasted out in like 5 years, 3 to 5 years. Where do you want to see your program? What is your vision that's there? Yeah, we know it's beyond wins and losses, but at the end of the day, you have to win in some aspect to build. Everybody wants a winning product, so it's there. The first thing I did, man, I really sat down, coach, and I thought about what I wanted to do my first year. What did I want to get accomplished? So I asked you that to say when you write it down, what do you want to accomplish in your first year at Kingston Forest? And you write it down. And don't make it about wins and losses. If you won 5 games in the past, if you win 5 this year, you're okay. If you win 6, you're okay. It's not going to be the defining moment. You got to get and lay your foundation the way you want it laid in that upcoming. So here, when we took over here, they won 6 games last year at the Division I JUCO level. And if you talk about a nightmare, for me, I left a very successful high school program after 6 years. And you come here and we had no players, none. So I had to recruit for the first time to have a team just so I could enjoy being a college coach for the first time. And then you had these expectations of what are we going to do if we lose? Because at the college level, people don't understand this. Being a full-time coach at the high school, you teach, you do something else that locks you into your job. Here, I'm a full-time basketball coach. I oversee the intramural sport. So if we're not winning here, and they say, hey, we're going in a different direction, at the end of the day, you can't really provide for your family. So that was different for me. I'm in there. So when I came here, man, I wrote it down, put it all in a book. And my views don't change from year to year. Once you figure out how to be successful and what works, you got to stick to it. Success leaves footprints. So all my ideas and how I did it, I found a mentor. So if there's something for people out there that want to listen, find a mentor. Because Lacey doesn't know everything. I'd be glad to help you the way I do, but find you a mentor that isn't afraid to share with you the information that everybody doesn't share. People try to covet X's and O's, but X's and O's, 2-3 zone been out way before we ever started playing basketball. For somebody trying to grip right now and say, hey, I can't tell you how we play defense, I take offense to that because, hey, we didn't create it. And at the end of the day, basketball is still basketball, and that's a small portion of running. So make it about making sure your kids understand the fundamentals, make sure they approach the game the correct way, they're doing the academic part. They're good kids off the court, they're good kids on the court. To me, that's what I would do in the first year. because that's going to pay dividends when you become successful. Those foundations are going to be able to keep the other kids grounded. They're going to see, hey, this is how I have to act. That does translate to winning, because if a kid doesn't follow directions off the court, you will not, you'll pull your hair out to think they're going to follow directions on the court. So those are the things. You want to be better. Take a look at where the program was. If you have access to film, go get film. If you don't, try to some way figure out what they did, what they didn't really do well as a team. Yes, you get this all the time. You can be a loyal assistant coach and still write down, one thing that I praise about Taj, and the man's always writing something down. Don't know what he puts on there, and I don't know what he had, but he's always writing something down. Those are his ideas. Those are the things. It can be what you would do different. It would be, hey, if I became head coach and I had this problem, this is what I was. So you serving as an assistant, you've seen a lot of things. There are some things you would do different. You don't always have to broadcast, and that keeps the loyalty, and you believe and you understand the head coach is the head coach. But there's also that piece there where now I'm in the leader's chair. These are all the things that I seen when I was here that I would have done differently. Now I'm going to go through those things and make my plan of how I'm going to do them different. And that's where you start. If you didn't like how somebody practiced well or didn't like the practice, okay, in my plan, this is where I start. It's not out there. You got to go think of something like totally new. This right there. After that, always and I want to be competitive. So in that first year, I always wanted to be competitive. Understand when I say that, that's not meaning we're going to win. We're just going to be in every game. I want my kids to compete and play. And if that's okay, that's probably moving in the right direction to be competitive. Year 2, we can talk about wins. Year 3, we can talk about wins. Year 4, 5, that was it. True story. That's here. I always felt when I became a head coach, you always want to win a state championship. And what people often don't realize is I was chasing championships at 26 and I was moving from place to place. So if you really look at my resume, every 2 years I was trying to move to a bigger school, thinking if I got a bigger school, I have better players that win the championship. That was totally the wrong way. It's really the wrong way to do it. When you look at it, that was a journeyman as a coach, and you sitting there and you're like, all right, you go ahead. Same thing in the college world, and you see assistants, and you even see kids. I was one of the kids. I wasn't really transferring, but I was bouncing around trying to find a better situation to be in. And as an assistant in the college, you see them. Guys want to move and learn from different people, but on the backside, they realize that, hey, if I go work for this guy, I'm gonna set myself up to be a little bit better. And it's and there's a whole lot of truth to that. They did an article on VCU, and the coaches that left VCU just now, most of all those coaches on that staff that have sometimes to a very successful program called Randolph-Macon. Randolph-Macon still have it. So those guys go, hey, you learn it, you play it, you trust it, and that really. So that was me. I was bouncing for 2 years. So when I got to Verona, I kind of made the decision to say, okay, I'm not gonna be a 2-year journeyman. I want to see it ain't where I'm at, because I'm always starting. I never inherited a program, coach, where they came out and they had won a ton of games the year before. There was no 20-winner season. There was no state semifinals, recipient, and somebody turned it over, and you really had a really up-and-running program. That wasn't it. So I always had to start and rebuild. So my dog days, every first year, this was the best first year at a location that I've had in my career. 15-15 in Richard Bland was the best. My first head coaching job was 7-16. I went to North Carolina, I was 7-16 in the first year there. When I got to Verona, I was 6-14 at Verona in my first year there. So the first year had always been here being 15-15, and it's a challenge to be 15-15 here, because there's a whole lot more that I was responsible for here that's there. So this by far is the best first year that we have record-wise. It was the most challenging year program development-wise. Just didn't make sense. Because I had to tweak some of the stuff that I was used to doing in high school. Second year at Verona really transcended my career. Nowhere in my 5-year plan did I ever say I was winning a championship in my second year. We went 12 and 14 that year. Won Conference 3 with 6A in the state of Virginia. And what people fail to realize that we lost 7 games in a row going into our conference tournament. And it's on the verge of just really about to lose. The team, parents were vicious, you weren't winning. And it's in year 2, nobody can see the vision, and you're still out there coaching, the team. Because there's nobody's going to love and want for your program more than you as the head coach. You can't even, your assistants can be as loyal as they want to be. And I say that with my sitting here, you can be as loyal as you want to be, but they're not going to care about the program and really want to upkeep, because it's really not theirs per se that was in it. But, I had good assistants, and we'll talk about that in a second, developing it. But that second year, got into the playoffs, seemed like clicked. Yeah, I changed what we did defensively. I made some changes scheme-wise, and what we did defensively to help us. And man, we won the conference championship and made it to the regionals in the second year. And we were 12 and 14. So when you're coming into that third year and you won a championship, regardless of who you got coming back and what it goes in, the media and the people around your program, they're always talking championship. They won one, so championship's always in there. And so now you got to go back as a coach. In my plan, this wasn't here until year 3. So now I got to go back and figure out how to duplicate year 2 and year 3 and keep getting better. And year 3, we moved into conference 12, but back to 5A. Went in with Lacey Bird, and they just won Conference 12 the year before, and they were really good, and they had a ton of D1 players just on that team that still, playing at a high level, and they were older, and it was always that Bird Verona ordeal. And we went there, we played them the first time, like the third game of the year. They beat us in double OT, 92-88 at their place. We came back, played them in the Conference 12 championship that year. And man, we won 50-35, and kids played phenomenal, and we won back-to-back conference championship. So now, in year 3, you're like, man, I stuck around past year 2 because you won the championship. So here's it. So now year 3, how to get better, man? We followed up, went back-to-back at a conference championship, made it back to the regionals, and lost in the first round of the regionals again. So now on Coach Lacey, it was, hey, you can win a championship, but you can't get out of the regionals. And to be of significance in coaching, you have to, in those late March days and those late February, that's when you really got to win. Like everybody talks about, because they done away with like the conference and the region, so now it's like a regional championship or a state title. So now we got to get over the hump of getting out of the first round of the regionals. Moved into year 4, still had great kids, and what I'll tell you is, don't chase kids. You're at a private school, so you don't know if you can recruit or not, how that works, but don't be so much into chasing kids. Be more into building a program that kids want to be a part of. And that really starts with winning. And we did things at Verona that I do now. Everything I did was at a college level. My mentors were other college coaches, other successful high school head coaches. So I was putting a college program in place in a high school setting. That's just my vision. So I built something that kids want to be a part of. Yeah, we won, and everybody wants to be a part of a winner. So that kept my kids there. I made some hires that I felt were key to doing that, but for the most part, it was what you build in a day. Because all that information, kids know if you're winning or not. And they searching, they know who you are, they know what your backgrounds are, so you gotta say, hey, this is the product that I'm gonna put there, and every decision you make has gotta be, hey, this is my program, I get to do it in my way. Because I always say, man, if I got fired, I'm gonna get fired doing it my way. And then you can give me your suggestions out here, but at the end of the day, it's my program. I gotta make what's best for me. So we moved right on, got into year 4, and in year 4, lo and behold, we really had an experienced team that year, and we played Lacey Bird again in the Conference 12 championship, and it went down we lost at a 3 at a buzzer, but in 3 straight years at Verona, we played for a conference championship. And I think then that it started to staple, okay, we are doing some things right, what we're doing. And it was all fundamental work. It was, when we talk about off-season, when we did off-season, you really see that I'm probably so old school that it's very, very boring because there ain't no rolling out the balls and playing, so I'm not that type of coach for people. But got into year 5 at Verona. They changed the whole landscape of how things were done, so you don't really have a conference anymore. It's just now it's just a big region with, you know, with 8 teams. By this time, my team is, we're playing the Richmond Time-Dispatch. We're getting asked to go to Palm Beach, Florida to play a national tournament. So now all those things that when I started at 26 that I was chasing, now just sticking it out, doing things the right way at Verona, those things started to come into play because I wasn't chasing wins anymore. I wanted to have a respectable program. So I made decisions that made it that way. So it blew up. Got ahead of its time. It was a whole lot more. On the other side, you got to maintain that level, and my problems of maintaining the level, challenges I should say, of maintaining that level of play became tough. Because I always say, man, it's tough to try to build it and turn a losing program and to turn it around. Then once you get to the top of it, it's super tough because you got to keep your kids motivated to stay there and work hard. Because that grind up is a whole lot easier than the grind and stay up there because you think you're invincible. Year 5, man, we went after it. And, you know, to date, and even in that year we lost at the buzzer, we made it to the regionals, and we made it to the regionals that year, and we won our first regional game that year. And then it was crazy because you could win the first regional game. If you won that regional quarterfinals back then, you automatically qualified for the state playoffs. So it was a huge emphasis on that. Like when they say, hey, Verona went to like 4 straight playoffs this year, we're again, you know, that time they went to 3 straight playoffs. You got to realize that, hey, we won a regional game, the regional quarterfinal game we won, it automatically put us in the state tournament that year. We wound up losing the regional semifinals to Bird that year, came back in that like 3rd place game for seed-wise. We played Hampton, we beat Hampton, and then we went to Hampton High School and we played Auerball in a close game there. And we won like 20 wins. So in high school, the mark that was always said in high school sports, you want to get your team as close to 20 wins. That was always the barometer for me is, hey, what do we got to do to win 20 wins? The best programs in my area or in the country, they win, you know, 20 plus games each year. They get close to that number. So that was the number. We went 19-7 one year. Then we wound up hitting 21-7. You know, that next year who I was. So when I got in that 5th year, and I had young dudes. I was been so blessed, and when I took over, the guest leaves out, I always started young. Took my sophomores, took juniors, and those who I really got in the gym and worked with, because those are really the program, because they still influence you. Your seniors are your leadership, and they are what they are in most cases. Because by the time you put all that work in, and by the end of the year to change that senior to be that player that you want him to be, he gone. You got him for 1 year. But them sophomores, you got him for 3. The junior, you got him for 2. That's really the longevity. So your plan that you want to carry out in year 2 and 3 comes from those guys. So you really got to gravitate to those guys. You got to make them, you know, feel it. And I always said it. If a senior wasn't going to be in my top 8, 9, then I would really consider cutting them. Because they can say last year, sooner or later, they're going to want to play, they're going to become selfish, and it's going to take away from what I want. Didn't have that problem at Verona. It's always something that has been on the books for me that I would take if I got into that situation. So moving that year, it propelled us, man. We really got super good at what we did. Started 2 freshmen, a sophomore, a junior, and a senior. Came off the bench with 2 juniors the year we won the state championship. And it was young, and we stayed the way. They were very, very talented players. They hated fundamentals. They hated a whole lot of things that we were teaching that was there, but they understood how to play the game. And we won the region that year. Man, it was great. I think some of the things that they did that we always talk about to the guys coming back is when we won a state championship, it was for every kid that I've ever coached because they had a part in making me the coach I was when we won it. So it was interesting because even some of my former players would come back and be a part of it, and be happy that, you know, they won. Yeah, you know, man, they wish they could have and they didn't experience, but they didn't understand that, hey, each year you notch better. I challenged my seniors because when that senior class left and they won a regional and they won a championship, now it became an expectation of all my seniors. This is your legacy. How you go? The senior class before you, they won a championship. This is what they win. How you gonna leave your mark? Are you leaving the program better than the way you found it? So I would always challenge my seniors to be better and win one. And in that year, man, we went all the way. They won 22 straight games. They didn't lose to a public school. We went to Florida and we lost 2 games to 2 private schools. We lost to Trinity that year when they had Enrico and Armando Baco. We lost to them in the Richmond Times Dispatch Championship in back-to-back years that was there. And it was just synonymous to my kids in Verona. We were doing something at a high level. In some way, state reform, and once in that year, we were always playing for a state championship. I mean, not a state title, but a championship, whether it was conference, Richmond Times Dispatch, regional champion. Kids were always in that. So that championship expectation became a staple. I didn't have to talk about it. I hated to mention it, but you could see that it was. But now when everybody came from behind you, they understood that, hey, the group before me did this, I want that. So it governed a lot. Don't really talk about hating talking about it. Everybody talked about us trying to go back-to-back in year 6. We lost in the semis, and I think the kids just felt, even as a coach, I felt that they were really good, so good that there was never a game that those kids' ability and couldn't pull them out. It was, and we got clipped, you know. Game 39, first game, and then we lost in like 380 some odd days. We won 38 in a row, and it was a state record at that time. And we avenged that loss, and then we didn't lose again until like the state semis 1 game before, you know, playing state champ. They accomplished a lot. And what I learned from there was people always say it can't be about winning that motivates people, because when you start to win so much, what motivates you then? I had to really, really ask myself, because you can get used to winning, and winning is a habit, and it's a culture, and that, but what happens when you win so much? How does it motivate? Look at college sports now, who wins? Like in girls basketball, UConn, they won so much. People think that just because I go to UConn, I'm going to win. Not saying they bad players, and they're really good, but the other kids that he used to get there don't go there no more. So now there's a different winner, you know. South Carolina, Don Staley, they winning a lot now. You know, Notre Dame went through that phase to catapult because he won so much. Hey, it's expectation I go here, I want to win. Those kids that want to be challengers, want to beat the best team. That's kind of where I was like, I wanted to be the best team, but I wasn't going to do anything to compromise to have like a loaded team. I wanted to win with the people that I had in my gym, and we're going to be that. This is how we're going to be the best team. And I want you to be in your challenge to be better than the other teams that were there. So that was the plan and the vision and how you stay true to it. Any questions about that from either one?
Well, I do understand what you're saying, because I pretty much starting off, everything you're saying, I'm starting off at the grassroots level. I got my vision statement, and even as the AD actually told me, you know, coming in, that he didn't want me as the head coach the following year because that coach was moving on. And my first thing was how many games we're going to win, and like how much I can do as an assistant coach to help the coach. And coming in, I was like, do we have 2 different mindsets? And I have to gear my mindset up with the head coach and what they got going on. And I think the blessing was when I got there, had the coach say, "Hey, I just want you to take care of defense." And I was like, "Cool." That was my favorite thing to do anyway. So this is how we're going to play. This is what we're going to do. And that was just my type of brand of basketball. You know, passionate, first one on the floor, first one down. And come to find out, we didn't have the numbers or, you know, the athletes from, you know, my AAU background. It was a lot easier. And so now I'm caught doing the basics of just good defense. And come to find out was what I was didn't know was it was mostly on the assistant coach level. It was changing the mindsets rather than, you know, we're going to do this, this, and this. It was like changing the mindsets and how do you think, how do you want to go at defense rather than, you know, what are you actually doing on the court during the game. So my whole thing changed with that was I had to change the culture from the mindset of every aspect as an assistant coach. And, you know, luckily the head coach, you know, see my vision and know that I was going to be the head coach. So she kind of backed away and allowed me to input things that change our mindset, how we go about practice. And I had an athletic director. The first thing I did was get in his ear, like, what is success to you? And he said, I just want to build young men up. And I said, great, I'm on the same page. So as we're losing, you know, I'm getting compliments on, you know, I see a change in the guy. We're losing, but the attitude has changed. The effort has changed. So, you know, that part was the easy part to get to change that. But my main thing is being the head coach is actually building an environment where a kid and a family can come in and they come out better. Whether that's grades, them, their character. I just want an environment where, like you said, I don't want to have to chase the kids, but I want to create an environment where they come in and they get the best, they come out better people. And in that aspect, I want to give them everything I have and set them up for the next level. So one of my huge things is how do you get a kid in a position to go to the next level or get seen? He might have that talent. You know, as an AAU coach, you pick the you know, you look at the online, okay, I think Scout's going to be here, we're going to go here. I heard that a lot of kids get a lot of looking, so we're going to go here, we're going to go here this year, we're going to finish with a big bang at a national tournament. It's already done. The talent takes care of itself. In high school, I'm learning, you know, I get as a team who lives around there and who can pay tuition and who can make it into the school. So now I'm like, okay, this kid has talent. How do I get that kid looks or prepare where he can come in and I can tell the parents, hey, you know, I have this track, and this track. You know, as long as you do good in school and this and behavior-wise, I'm going to get him to be seen. Or, you know, do I record? Because this past year I noticed one thing, I was talking to one of my sophomores. Really, I had a JV team at a varsity level, and our main scorer was a sophomore. He was all conference as a freshman last year, and he was all conference this year. So I try to cling to him and try to make things better for him, meaning I want the best to give my opportunity to make it to the next level. And I noticed that we didn't record maybe 2 games the whole year, and I know, okay, when I get the head coach down next year, I have to have a way where they're being recorded or a system where I can get their footage out or whatever is set up best for that.
So, great. I'll give you 2 spills. I'm going to let Taj tell you, I'll go first, and then Taj can tell you. He came from St. Andrews, D2 school, and then he played there. So he played there, so he can kind of give you your background of how film was done. I mean, he was in high school to get him to St. Andrews, how they did it there at St. Andrews. There's no right way. I think both of us here now at Richard Bland we pull a lot of resources. There's really no right way to really get a kid to the next. It's going to come down to the coach's preference at the next level. So some of the background things that you got to keep mindful of there is the NCAA, you know, the junior college, all those realms, they have different recruiting standards per se. You know, junior college, what we're finding out now is they say, hey, you gotta have, if you have bad grades, you go to junior college, do that. Nah, that's really not the case. It's more so development. Because when you look at the landscape of the game, you have a freshman in high school. That freshman in high school, unless he went to, or he's that dude, if he's that guy, it's a different story for him. Mm-hmm. And if he's that guy, you're gonna know it because he's been that guy from a sophomore, junior, just that. Taking your late blooming senior, no film whatsoever. First thing it's gonna have to be, you're gonna have to have a tough conversation. And I talked about this on a previous show, is he's gonna have to understand you are the level of, there's no D1 hitting your phone up right now. You can't walk around and say, hey, I'm a D1 athlete, because that's probably setting the bar high. And the reason why I say it's setting it high, because I know that scholarship at the D1 level, they're proportionate, they change on a year to year. One year, coach could have 3, the next year he could have 6, the next year he could have none. So depending on what class he's in determines what each school can offer. So just because a school is not beating down the door for a kid, doesn't mean they don't think he can play. They just don't have a scholarship to offer that particular kid. So that changes in that regard. So then you say, hey, how do I get him seen? I've always been this person to say this, and there is to be seen, I gotta be in the right spots. Colleges now do elite camps. And because they do elite camps, that's a first-hand experience for a college coach to see my kid. You go to an AAU event, man, there's thousands and thousands of kids. We're going to an AAU event as college coaches, and we're looking at particular kids. So for me to go see your kid, and he's not on my radar, unless he's playing on a team, or somebody that I'm watching play, or a kid that I'm watching against play, I'm gonna miss him. You can send me a text and you send an email and say, hey, I got this kid, look, and once they get to playing, but most coaches don't go just to an AAU event to just say, okay, I'm gonna go check out this AAU team and see what they got to offer, unless there's a type of local tie to it. So I would always say, hey man, you need to go to this elite camp, because that elite camp is ran by the college coaching staff itself, and they're running it, so they're working hands-on with the kid, and they got other colleges working there. You know, so doing those individual elite camps are start without film. Yeah, it costs a little money to go to them, but most of them are like $80-something to get there and go. Then you train this. I put a profile together, GPA, contact information, a little bit of statistical whatever awards they won. Put it together and put it in a PDF, and I email it out to coaches. Ask them what are they looking for. It's that. You're probably going to get more no's. You're probably going to get more blanketed no responses than anything. But on the behind the scenes, you're doing it. There's none that was there. Not every kid, coach, is ready for the next level. So I did a podcast about transitioning. Somebody asked me to speak at a clinic when I first took over here about transitioning from high school to college. And at that time I didn't know what it took. I knew what I taught my kids, and I had to be in for a week. Is you gotta make sure that he's going to class. Make sure he is a college athlete there. That's why doing a study hall, set him up a study hall, get in the gym, work on his game beyond what you work on the game with, to be that type of kid. So the scene part, go to team camps. That's there. Unofficial visits. You can take unlimited unofficial visits. Getting out, go see a college workout, go meet the staff so they can meet them. Any way to personalize that experience. Me personally, kids come, they come on campus, we'll talk to them. To have you here to talk is more personable. Send me an email and say, hey, do this. Most of the time we send it to our assistant coach, and our assistant coach, and your email gets bogged down and it becomes cumbersome because you may never ever get to it. That's there. film, when you get a chance to film, it's usually everybody's going to ask you for a full game. Highlights catch your eye. Coaches want to watch the whole game, how you play through the whole game, trying your stats, shot attempts, where you are. They do all of those things to see it. Lifting weights, make sure, that's a huge part. Because that freshman coming out, everybody wants to be older. Transfer portal is like huge. So every college is waiting to see who's in the transfer portal. They want to get older, so the high school the high school seniors are at the bottom. It's not that they're not a D1 talent. Nobody really wants to, okay, I'm going to have to come and sit this freshman for 2 years. I only got 2 years to be winning, and I got to be winning now. So I need to be older. I need to be this transfer that has it, he knows what it's about. Here's a kid I was recruiting that's doing that. And that's the one they go after, so that high school senior is still sitting there. So if he goes in thinking I'm a D1 kid, that expectation is going to fall hard when they're not knocking down. It's not you as much as it is everything that's above you and who's being recruited. So it's not you. So you got to look at D2. You got to take a look at, because the D1 guys, want other D1 guys, they want pros to come into that. They want those game changers. D2 guys want those D1 guys that don't quite make it to the major that they want. They want those D1 transfers that are happy. Those D3 guys are going to take anything that they can get. They mass recruit a lot because you got to pay some money to go there. You got to have academics, so the turnover is there, and that distinguishes it. And then NAIA has their own set. They've set. Then there's junior college where we find out that hey, kid can come in, you get your gen ed courses, you can go in as a junior. There are tons of leagues. Stephen F. Austin knocks off Duke. They got 7 players on their team that were junior college kids. They started playing as a junior. So they've been around the block for 2 years to go play Division I. So you can play. It's just about really finding a fit that's going to help develop a kid and put them in the next spot to be there. It's not going to be an all-get-all this out of there.
Coming out of high school, I was never a high school head coach or anything like that, but speaking from my background, my dad did a lot of recording for the team. Like, if they ever needed something, my dad would give them the film or whatever. But one thing that my dad did for me that you can take as a coach, like Coach said, send out emails. My dad had a list, like he'd type up a general email, and he had a list of like all Division I, II, and III, and he literally sent it to just about everybody. And everybody's not gonna hit you back, but all it takes is one. So I probably got about 7 to 8 that hit me back. Like I got invited to like a exposure camp at like Wingate, Anderson, like schools like that. I would start in your area first because it's kind of hard for parents to travel. I didn't go to a couple because my dad couldn't take me because work and travel. But you can start there. You can have your assistants do that. Just reach out to all the schools in the area. Like you said, you can hit all of the schools, and a couple may hit you back. Second, like Coach talked about, just going to those exposure camps. I know in North Carolina they have something called a Fab 40. And when we were at St. Andrews, we would go to a lot of those events because those are like the under-recruited guys, the guys under the radar. So if you take your guys to camps like that, that'd be beneficial. You can get I don't know how many people you have on staff, but you can get people to record games for you, or you can get a parent to do it or something like that. But that's kind of the ways that we did it in high school and that my dad did for me. As far as NAI, it's kind of hard to get big recruits because everybody want to go NCAA. So we just stuck to like the under the radar kids and things of that nature. So that's how we did it there.
So now you have getting recruited, and that's a tough task for like a head coach by themselves. So you have to, the second most important thing after you set your vision, you got to get those guys or people to come to you in your program to help you carry the vision out. So in about 13 years, I think if there's a huge area of weakness, it is me like really finding those guys that are authentic to basketball and to carrying out the vision. It was always said that, man, I wanted guys that wanted to be head coaches, future head coaches. Because if you get a guy that wanted to be a future head coach, the time, the dedication, the work ethic that go into that, they're going to do it because eventually, they want it. The thing with that is, Coach, you have to be secure in your abilities, Because a lot of guys that aren't secure in those businesses go hire somebody, you're always going to be coaching each day thinking, hey, this dude going to take my job. I don't approach that. When I first started, I was young, I did. And I was afraid to hire or go after this person because I felt because I'm so young and they were older than me, the AD or whoever, they may think, hey, you know, he should be in his spot. So I always carried that and had that wall up in there. But then when we became really, really good at Ron, I was like, man, for me to be, because you're facing other coaching staffs that has Division kids that played, you know, guys that played basketball Division I, they had. So talk about coaching staff there, they had those, man. Your staff has to be, you have to strategically put your staff together. And what I've learned when I first started doing it was there, I said, hey man, this person here gonna coach with me and they gonna coach, and this is what we're gonna do. And it was a mass. Coach Lacey said this, direct order, y'all carry it out. Then win as many games. So then I got to the point where I said, hey, I'm hiring this person to coach. So they want to coach, so I'm going to allow you to coach in what the concept are. So they get your opportunity to be you. That was in there. So I changed how I design my staff. So the first couple of things that I keep key here is I looked at everything that I wanted to accomplish basketball-wise and what the task went with that. And I created a title. So I would have the team room coordinator, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator in that one. So did the title like associate head coach. I even had the special assistant to the head coach. So I would create duties and then I would create a leadership role for those things. And that was the delegation. I'm not a micromanager. You know, we do checkpoints to go in. So let's start with team room coordinator. That was my energy guy. You know, I can go back to my later stats when I put this in, and that was my energy person. So stretching them, going to make sure the team was straight, make sure, you know, that was my dude. That's your responsibility. You got to prove that, understand they always got to be upstanding men, they got to do the right thing, they got to clean up after themselves, this and that. But bringing the energy to rah-rah, stretching them, that was your flavor, that was your chance to be you, that whole thing could take on your personality, but understand they would do it. Gave it to a coach. Gave him a list, you know, I can send you the document and what those expectations for him was, but that was it. Because Lacey wasn't coming in the team room trying to shine. I wasn't going to be in the middle of a circle jumping around. That was your thing. I understood my place in there. So then that was the start. Then I had my associate head coach that was there. And the associate head coach, really, I mean, it's an assistant. But the reason why I gave it associate head coach is because I took some of those administrative tasks. Managing study hall, academic checks, managing the managers, finding student managers, getting the film recorded. The recruiting piece became huge. That was that he was serving as a recruiting coordinator. In the high school it was tough. Wasn't tough because as Todd said, your job is you mass production. You send out tons of emails, you send out film. You're the ones that bring coaches into the gym. For us, we got good enough where coaches would come throughout the AU, visit our workout, and that got out. But you're the guy that's gonna, you know, you gotta scribe, you gotta get the email. You're the recruiter, so it's directly attached to you. Because for Coach Lacey to go do it, it's tough. And people's like, hey, you know, how do you do that? You got a person like, no. If you really look at the successful programs, and you maximizing your time. Everybody has a job and they maximize. Everybody's not wearing everybody's hat, and I think that's a lot of struggle in a lot of programs. It's because everybody's trying to wear the head coach's hat, and the head coach is trying to be the head coach and the assistant coach, and you get that gray area because you're not using your people. So that was the so they took those roles. My expectation for myself as the head coach, I'm gonna run an organized program. And part of being an organized program and being a leader is you gotta delegate some things you can't do everything and micromanage, because people not gonna want to be, in that environment. So you gotta let them. So me organizing it. Hey, I'm delegating. This is what I want you to do in this parameter. You're an adult. You understand basketball. You played it. You got your passion that was there. Then I had my offensive coordinator. My offensive coordinator was different than in football. And I had this happen to me in real life. I told a guy that, hey man, I'm gonna hire you to be my offensive coordinator. He felt he was gonna bring his own offensive system in and was gonna run it like they do in football. I didn't think about it, me being, young, thinking, man, this was a cool task to do, man. I did it, brought him in. So I'm telling him, hey, this is what we do. Drill drive for a while, ball screen, and they doing this. And it was always some times where it was overshadowed. He felt that I wasn't listening to him because I told him he could be the offensive coach. So we went a whole year trying to figure out what that looked like. So I had one of my other assistants call me to the side and say, man, it's how you presented it. He just said, hey. So I changed the offensive coordinator from offensive coordinator to co-offensive coordinator. And it's done a world of difference, because co means you and I working together, versus if I just totally give it to you by yourself, you think, okay, this is my thing, I can go run because everybody else has their own. So I then changed it from offensive coordinator defense to co-offensive coordinator, co-defense coordinator. That was just one assistant that was in charge of the offense. And when I tell you what it did and what they do, you're going to be like, wow, there's nothing new. A lot of programs have it at the college level, and maybe at the high school level, you know, but I know at the college level. My offensive coordinator works with me. His sole responsibility is to watch our offense every day at practice, during film sessions, all day, every day. When they're breaking down film and we're doing game planning of the other team, he watches the other team's defense all the time. He doesn't have to worry about what the other team's doing on offense, because it has nothing to do with him. So he specializes in every day. Because what you're going to find out is if you're not coaching that aspect, the kids are not executing that aspect. So if you're in defense, you're working on playing man-to-man defense, your offense is liable to look atrocious, because just by habit, everybody in the gym is coaching defense. And all your kids is hearing defense, and they're like, oh, well, coach ain't worried about what we're doing on offense. They jacking up crazy shots, they're not passing the basketball, they're not cutting it, they're doing this crazy stuff. And you're spinning your head because it looks unorganized. So I was like, yo, I gotta stop this. And it's tough, because just by natural ability, coach, like, everybody wants to coach the same side. Like, we on defense, so everybody wants to handle the person on defense. Nobody. So I put the offensive coordinator, so we're constantly every day, we're getting coached on spacing, passing, catching, screening, execute. It's the only voice. So you never, so when you're on offense, you're getting coached. And you get into our principles. They execute the system in which we talk about what Coach Lacey wants to do. They have to learn the scheme. And they learn that scheme because you got to be able to teach it to your kids in that realm that sees it the same way Coach Lacey sees it. But you don't have you have a defensive responsibility when you have a position group, because they all get position, post or guards, they get the position. So when you coach your position group and it's a defensive drill, we split up on both ends, you're repping that defensive drill. But any 5-on-5 setting, 3-on-3, 4-on-4, any competitive going there, it's all offense. You move off of that, and we got. So the defensive side, the defensive coordinator does the exact opposite. He watches the defense all the time. He watches the other team's offense, so he can break it down. So I was able to take the task that, and I still watch film, but if you're asking about stuff, I probably watch it all the time. And I think being a basketball person, what I pride myself on in this there is, I want to be able to know, and I'm trying to get my assistants to understand this too, is I need you to be able to coach their team without really like coaching their team. You got to have a feel for the game. You got to have a feel for what, if you're an offensive guy, you got to have a feel for what they're going to do defensively. to stop us. You gotta have a feel for what the adjustment would be based on their personnel. Because all those things come into play when you're ready to be that suggestion guy. You've been a suggestion guy most of your career. Now you're not the suggestion guy. Your suggestions now turn into decisions, and your decisions now turn into you're going to be held accountable for them. So now your new suggestion people got to understand, hey, I'm a suggestion guy. I'm always going to have suggestions. Coach might not take my suggestions, but I got to be able to give a suggestion. Okay, coach didn't do it, but I'm still going to rock out. I can't get my feelings on a suggestion. So I limited how the suggestions come to me. So when you come to me and you're gonna give me a suggestion as an assistant, you're my offensive guy, it's gotta be more than surface level. They say, so we can talk basketball, and we'll talk basketball surface level. And you can tell me, hey coach, that's the 2-3 zone, and we get on the board here, and I try to teach you a little bit of, not try to teach you, show you some of the concepts in this there. It's interesting. Like I'm sitting with a guy right now that we had great conversations last year, and I can tell you we sat in this room and he sat somewhere else, and he looked at me like, come on coach, like he not fully understanding. As the year went on, as my offensive guy, I hope to think I made a believer out of him in some of the aspects. I don't see the game the way you see it, and I don't teach it the way you teach it, but we do have some of the same concepts. My language is just different. And I try to make the game easy. So now when he says, hey, we have a play sheet. And we have a play sheet. And I can probably tell you it's probably about 25 actions on the play sheet that the offensive coordinator would have to do. And I can probably tell you we would probably run 10 all year. But we would rep 25 over the course of the year. End of the game, late game, there's nothing. So being prepared is a huge thing as a head coach that I would tell you. You got to be prepared. You got to be prepared for every situation that comes up. Because you're the leader. They're waiting for you to give direction. If once you say, hey, I don't have an opinion or a direction on this, and you allow somebody else to make that direction, you just giving up your authority to ever go back and govern that because you didn't take it as that. So you got to be prepared. So that we do that. That helps some of the channel. Like I said, it helped us because now I'm getting offense coach. Defense is always getting coached. Players can't really take time off in practices. When they go into a game, duties don't change. Team room coordinator, you're responsible for making sure the energy, the bench was that the kids stay motivated, they stay in. So in the huddle, you got to be clapping, you got to be keeping them in there. You're the motivational guy. You know, in the high school setting, I had a strength and conditioning guy. I gave a guy, I said, hey man, you're in charge of my lifting. He did, my strength and conditioning guy also did a stretching pregame. And then the team room guy made sure to manage the team room and make sure that it was clean and whatnot. But they had duties that was there. What do I look for in those? But I also wanted guys who wanted to be a head coach. Really wanted those guys that was there. Then I would take the head coaches that didn't no longer want to be head coaches. I think in there, and with me, is I'm constantly watching people and how they coach and how they manage to do stuff. So I coached against a particular coach as a head coach. He beat me 5 times in a year. And we beat me the 5 times in a year. He was really, really good. Same complex I live in. He was out running one day. I seen him. I heard he stepped down and he resigned. They was there. I pulled up beside him in the car, rolled my window down, started up a basketball conversation. I said, hey man, why don't you come over to Marana and be there? He was kind of telling me he wanted to be a head coach. He thought about it. He sent me a text message, bang. So now he came in. I really love what he did offensively and his knowledge. He was a basketball guy as well. So I said, man, we come here, you're going to be my offensive coordinator. And boom, in a year, we won a state championship. In that year, it became huge because I didn't have, I felt good that if there's an offensive adjustment, he had a 5-out offense that I loved, so we repped it, and we always could. I couldn't teach it 5-out, but I had somebody on here that knew this, that was beyond me. At that point in time, coach, it became so much more, what's the word I'm looking for? Not about me as the head coach, but about winning. So I did not care how I got the information, what it took for us to be good. I just wanted to be good. So I wanted to hire people that were gonna make, because if I can hire, at this point in time, it was no longer about could Coach Lacey build a championship program? Could he build it? We won championships. Now it wasn't about winning championships anymore. It was about, not winning on that, it was about winning state championship, being a spot. So I had to get people now and in. So it was constantly like refining it. I really hired good people that was there. I had a guy that went out to the middle schools and watched the middle school kids and then watch. So it was a total program approach from the top. That I didn't want a program where you ever had to rebuild. I wanted one where we were always reloading and expectations. So I brought in my off-season program, the middle school kids came to work out. In the summer camps, you just got kids in there. Put them in Veronica's gym and made this thing. The Verona was such a great place, and it is. So the kids wanted to be there. And I had assistant coaches that did those things. And it transcended what we did there. So I hired a former head coach to come and take over the offensive guy. When I was there, we really got good. My defensive coordinator, he's now the head coach at Verona. 2 years, the year before, I wanted him to come over, and we couldn't, work on stuff to get him over. But the next year, then he came over, and he became my defensive guy, and he understood basketball. Those guys that went into my coordinator positions, then I felt really good. They watched a whole lot of basketball. They coached a whole lot of basketball. They'd seen a whole lot of basketball. So when you're going to implement my system and my concepts, you had a big background of experience. You've seen a lot to be able to say, okay, what if they do this, and this? You can challenge me on the board, X and O Y's, to make me think outside of the box. Because to be a suggestion maker for me, you have to be able to challenge me. So we were sitting here and we were all talking. What I mean by that is, we were sitting here and we were all talking basketball. And and I said, hey, this is the team we're playing, coach. How they gonna defend us? You can't tell me surface level talk. Because if you tell me surface level talk, I've already thought about everything that's on the surface level. I see the game, how to say, I need you to tell me something that I didn't see. In order for you to do that, you really got to study it and study that team. And you got to be like, hey, coach, this is what they had success against last time. This is what I think they do to us this time. And this is how we have to prepare. And I'm either doing two things. I'm either confirming what I already thought they were going to do in my head, or you told me something new. Where I got to get better at as a coach is, I have to get better at letting you know which one you're doing. Because sometimes I would just look at you and you'd be like, is there more? And you keep talking. But it's that you got to convince me that my way is wrong. And, as it is like a head coach and assistant, we all feel like how we taught and that was that way. That's pretty much the stronger way to be. So that was a tough one. And, in the second, Tosh could probably chime in and tell you from an assistant coach's spot at how they view from a head coach, like the director, the offense. And then there with Devin, I allowed them to be there. So in practice, they got to be a coach. So our first 30, 35 minutes of practice every day was skill-based. It's 10 minutes of free throw, then it was 20 minutes of shooting. One day I could say, hey man, I want to work on inside post moves, shooting that. Taj had his routine. His kids knew his routine. So when coach said, hey, we're going to do this inside post moves, he understood Coach Lacey hates wasted time. So there was not a whole lot of talking. And if I tell you today, this is how we're going to do this drill, you got to come back tomorrow, and I don't need to tell you tomorrow how to do this drill. we jumping right in, and it's flowing. And he got some work. He got, but I never changed it. So in this 20 minutes, I said, hey man, they're doing form shooting. He had his form shooting drills. I didn't come up with him. He understood his form shooting. It's for him to be a coach. Okay, this is a drill I can teach. Coach want 15-foot jump shots. He want inside. How he got to the end, they needed to be working and developing those skills with the post players on the inside. Never touched it. Never went down there, ran his drill. Never, not one. He'd say how many minutes? I say 10, 20, and he had it where it said that's that prepared thing. So he didn't know. We talk about it. He wouldn't know the morning I said you wouldn't have all day to prepare for it. He would know when we started talking about practice and what I wanted done and practice that day. He would know he had his 10-minute routine. He had his 20-minute routine. He had his, okay, coach giving me 5 minutes. He had the 5. And he had a routine. And most of the time they were the same routine. He made an add, a cut, and it's emphasizing those different things. But that was it. Once again, never touched it. Never said do this drill, do this. Never went down there to coach. If I had to substitute for him, I probably did the same drills he did because I watched him do those drills. And that's kind of where like they want to be coached, and he can come, and give input that was there. Breaking down film, I made it across the board for everybody. Because I don't think a lot of people watch enough basketball. So at that part, he did it, and they all did it, and then we talk about it. And I think talking about it, you learn more both ways. Because for the head coach, you're going to learn how your assistants see the game. And I think that's a point where I think some head coaches, especially young ones, they not fail. They need to improve that. Because you don't know how your assistants see the game. And that's huge, because if you don't know how they see it, you can't teach them to see it your way to get to that level. So we have to have conversations. I would have to understand, how does Coach Scott work, or how does this assistant work, because they're different. That was there. Ty just wanted the beginning. He was an offensive guy. Every play is set that I would put in, I could walk in his office and look on his whiteboard. He's done drew out every play, every set. And it was for him to help. And he went there and, he walks around with a notebook and it was there. So I understood that, A, he's going to write down a lot. He's a visual learner. You got to see it that the talking doesn't work. So now it's kind of how you go in to the real of talking to him. When you see his scouting report, understanding how his scouting report is written, it's how he sees the game and how he does it. So it's because that's huge to building your staff, because you don't want a whole lot of guys that's like you. If you get a whole lot of guys that's like you might as well be doing the job by yourself. It is it. So my guys are not, they're far from who I am. And they learn that they're here for probably the executional side. He being a college coach, before having that experience to tell me how other colleges did it at the D2, bro. He's a young guy, so he understands he's really being able to really have, I'm very young, so he's close to the generation of kids. So he at 37 is a wide gap. He's in his 20s, so he's right there, it's there. So we don't see it different. There's a mold, so we're in the first year. So we gotta learn each other together. My other assistant is way older than both of us. He's been around, he does his game, he has a whole different pile of experiences than all of us have. So together we kind of had to make it work. And we'll sit and we'll talk a lot of basketball and we'll talk there. But I said, hey, Coach, I'm learning. Them guys do the most talking to me, and then I tell them how I see it. And then it could go, we could go days and days and days talking back and forth for me to get them to see something, how I see it. And then I always come back. At some point in time, not always, but at some point in time, I say, hey, now do you see why I said this is how I want to see it? And they'll be able to see it now, because I'll still make the decision to go that way at some point in time where we're all agree. It's not like, because it's like Bucks, the system. I listen to them. And when they say it, and when I listen to them, I make them accountable. You give me a decision and I go with it, you got to help carry this out. You should be coaching up that part. far better than me because I took you got to make sure this thing don't fail, because if it fail, I'm probably never going to listen to you again. Or it's going to be tough for me to listen to you. And they take pride in that. They fight and they defend their point, is what I'm saying. And they want to be accountable for it, and they hold it accountable for it. And we roll, and then when they come back and we're rehashing about the game, they be like, hey, coach, you were right, or hey, coach, we got to do this a little bit better. It builds for a healthy one because you really cut egos out. Because like I said, for me, I don't feel they're here to take my spot. I feel that, hey, if they're as good as they want to be, we'll be great here and we'll be okay in that regard. So anything about, Tosh can probably tell you from an assistant standpoint, how is it, what are you like, I guess, about being an assistant that you would tell a new head coach if you were going to go work for the head coach and you wanted for them, how would you feel an assistant would want to be? The duties, the tasks, responsibilities from an assistant coach standpoint if a new coach was going to hire you.
So I can tell you this, being an assistant here, or really anywhere, college, high school, 3 things that you need to know. And you have to know what the head coach wants, you have to know what the team needs, and you have to be able to think on the fly. Like Coach Lacey, I do the co-offensive coordinator, and I work with the bigs as well, so I got to start off knowing what he wants, and I already know what he wants with them. Just watching film of the guys, watching games, I know what the big men, I know what they need to work on as well. And then when he gives us a time frame of like sometimes he'll come to practice, he'll throw us something different, something new, and then gotta kind of adjust, think on the fly, and then you gotta perform and execute it. So coming from an assistant, just seeing how head coaches work, gotta know the head coach, you gotta do those 3 things. And I think you seeking out a staff, you have to get guys that are able to adjust to what they want, because like Coach said, everybody has a different way of viewing basketball, and different way of viewing people too, and that's important as well. So you got to get guys that are able to adjust and are able to learn and are able to do what's best for the program.
Adjustment is huge. I think if there's one thing we all have to be better at as coaches, is adjusting. And I've gotten better at it over it. I'm stubborn, don't get me wrong. I'm stubborn in a lot of ways, but when I say adjust, I'm going to make adjustments, but I'm not going to disrupt the whole process. Meaning, like, I have my core beliefs. Within my core beliefs, I'm going to make all the adjustments that I need to make. I'm not going to change my core beliefs on whether it's scheme or it's organizational. I'm not going to change my core beliefs to something totally crazy to get something done, if that makes sense. So within my core beliefs and how Coach Lacey operates, I'm going to make all my adjustments. So if you're going to come in, tell me something or want me to make an adjustment, and as long as it's in my beliefs and you're pitching it to me, then I'm okay. I just think a lot of people don't want to, we coached a lot of games this year, and we'd often come back and say, like, man, how did this scheme really work against this team, or how they did pick up and adjust faster. And that was one of the things that when we were still building at Marana, that was huge to me, was our adjustment time was not where I needed to be earlier in the career. So when I went and retooling the staff, and that was one of the things I put in, as a coordinator of offense and defense, the adjustment should happen quick now. Because you should be able to watch so much film and know the team so well that if you've seen something different, then, oh, coach, this was different than what I seen in film. Hey, you writing it down, you putting that, you making your notes. Now we'll adjust to it a whole lot faster. Whereas most of the time it's halftime and you're trying to make adjustments at halftime. But when you make an adjustment at halftime, they make an adjustment at halftime, so you're still trying to play catch up. This, that, you gotta be making the right adjustments that was there. So that was the key with the staffing.
I got something else about the adjustments. So I got a really good example. So when I was at the last school, I was at St. Andrews in North Carolina, we didn't have like a boatload of plays. Like we just had a few here and there. We had a couple counters for what we did. And like Coach said, like when I got here, about 25 of them. And like he said, I'm a visual learner, so when he would put in 4 or 5 plays at one time, I had a little notebook and I'd try to sketch them out real quick, like on the sideline, because I know 4 or 5 plays at one time, I'm probably not gonna remember that. Like I gotta adjust, so I have my little notebook. And if I couldn't write it, I kind of like take notes on like what was happening, so I can go back and then kind of draw it out. So that was a big adjustment. That's kind of how I like learn. You know what I'm saying?
And it do it when you look at it as practice structure, prep. We're creatures of habits, and I want to build solid habits. So the old school mentality is, I think a lot of coaches, young coaches, and we had this conversation in staff regional tournament when we're talking about Syracuse and Jim Boeheim and the 2-3 zone, and there, I think a lot of young guys get caught up in the flair. So this don't work. So because this not working, I gotta go change and do everything totally different, and we gotta come up with something else. Or, hey, I seen this play from over here, I got this play from over here, I got this play from over here, and they all fit 3 different situations. They got 3 different personnel types, but because you like them and you want to run them because you've seen it, so you do it. But you don't run that play correct, you don't run that play correct, you don't run that play correct. But you're doing them all 3 every day, and trying to do them in a game you're putting out. It's wild to me. So for me, it's very simple. We have the same practice setup. You go through the same drills every practice. The concept changes. What we're emphasizing changes. But the order in what we do it and how we do it doesn't change. And I think that's huge. And the reason why I think it's huge is if you take Syracuse. Syracuse is predominantly 2-3 zone. Jim Boeheim for a little bit, he was a man-to-man guy. But he'll tell you this, and you'll read about it. He practices his man-to-man principles every day. His team don't practice zone because they do zone stuff 5-on-5, but when he doing individual, they work at individual man-to-man stuff. Why does he run a 2-3 zone? He runs a 2-3 zone because 90% of America plays man-to-man. Now it's transitioning to everybody's now playing the matchup zone concept in college sports this day. There's really no, you can find them, your true hardcore man-to-man teams the way we grew up playing man-to-man, it's almost even. It's back to the adage of what offensive style do you need to win a national championship? You can't win it slow. UVA won it. Slow, deliberate. Tough deep. Kentucky don't want it with all athletes that was in there. UNC, the Kansas, the Dukes. So there's a wide array of systems that win it. But if you go back and Syracuse won it with a 2-3 zone. So when you go back and you really look at it, what really makes them really, really good, they do that really, really well. And that's all it is. Boeheim. Yes, the middle of the zone could be wide open. He knows that. He could go to UNC, beat him by 80. But not 80, really, let's say 80 was 40 plus. He got in the tournament, and what? He didn't go play a whole different 2-3 zone. He played the same one and beat them on the opposite end. So we had this conversation, we were talking about having to play a team twice, and they were saying, I was like, man, like, we're gonna do what we're gonna do. And they were talking about, we got to change up some stuff like that. I was like, man, Boeheim don't change up his 2-3 zone. And then one of the assistants said, like, but he overdoes it, he run it too much. No, he doesn't. We haven't really carried the conversation since then, but that's what they did. He didn't go back in that game when they beat me by 40 in the 2-3. So I'm gonna go ahead and play it, man. Man, they probably would have shredded him. He stuck to the 2-3. His kids made the small adjustment. They didn't change that. No kind of what? Couldn't make shots. So that's when I learned that a long time ago. I was like, man, like, I don't need to do a lot. We're gonna be really, really good at about a handful of things, and we're gonna rep those handful of things every day. Take the model. I follow programs of great coaches, Belichick, Nick Saban, you know, Coach K, another up and coming spinner. Like I follow it, and what their success plan is. Their success plan isn't an X and O, it's a style. Their success plan and how they do it, it's a concept. We're going to do things the right way at a high level, and we're going to win every play because our opponent is not really the guy across from us. Our opponent is how we work at it every day. That's the model that we try to bring over. So I want you to be, okay, today, I don't want to have to tell you today the same thing I told you yesterday because we don't get any better. But today, I need you to be so good. So in the off season for me, coach, in the first one, when basketball comes back around, whatever that principle is, I'm teaching it. I was not big on summer leagues in the summer and a whole lot of team camps. I was big on development. So my kids would practice 2 days a week, 2 hours. Same practice structure that I would have in a regular practice. They would lift the other 2 days. 1 weekend, 2 weekends in the summer, we go play in those 1 day team camps somewhere where we play 3 or 4 games. That's my barometer. It was always halfway through preseason or always half through there. That we're going to practice, now we'll measure to see where we are. Now we got the halfway point to see we need to get better before we roll over to our next season. Because my theory is if I go ahead and I play summer league and they play a whole lot more games in the spring and the summer than they do to get work on skill development. We were just really, really good at Verona at what we did. And it paid off because the kids just knew it. Now when you're trying to make these various adjustments, it became easier. I think for us here, it was tough because we got the kids from a wide array of basketball background. So trying to get them all to see it the same way and understand it and get all the skill sets that was there was the challenge. So when I say we went 15 and 15, that's instrumental because in August 19th when we started, you got kids from various and come there. So because we do get a chance to recruit the kids, so in that recruit piece, your kids got to fit the system. You know, and my goal has always been to don't teach them plays, teach them concepts, not concepts that we do. If it's the ball screen, you know, are you throwing it to the post, you're hitting the roller, you shoot it off, and we're gonna wrap that. We're gonna keep it the same. And whatever little actions that we do to get the movement, it's going to be off those concepts. It's not going to be this one concept and this one concept. The best concept that we had this year was I was a 4-out guy for 13 years. Second half of this year, I became a 3-out, 2-in guy. And it propelled our program. And we really only read a couple, a couple sets like pin down, come off a screen, roll to set a screen, finding in the post back inside. It was so like the move block like you did, that was what we did. We shot off that every day. We got off the dribble drive. Dribble drive did. It probably would have fit our kids, but they didn't understand how to play in space. Like, we took a whole lot of bad shots. So when I said change, it was still passing. How was it there? We wanted to get the ball inside, whether it's by drive or by catch, and have an inside game, play inside out. That offense gave us that. Just change the alignment. It still gave us, we're not good at getting off the bounce, but we can curl and pop you and throw the ball aside to death, and we could play the hell. So we became good at it, and we devoted all the time to doing those skills. And once the kids started to see some success, they started to do it, and it really helped because you had to slow down, you know, the stuff that was there, that was in that regard. So that was there. Trying to think of anything else that was there. Any questions just about that part before?
Well, this following year, it's like I'm learning to actually, this is my concept for offensive defense, but when it's all season, implementing the skills to actually fit. So when it comes around, because I remember I had a kid, and I was like, it's a great kid, but he won't move his feet for nothing on defense. And I'm constantly yelling at him, yeah, move. But then it dawned on me, like, Coach, you just got here in October. You missed the whole summer with this kid. So this year was like, I already told him, I said, look, this is the last game. You're not playing no spring sports, I don't think. He said, no, that's a good, because we're working on a ladder, we're working on this and this to prepare you to be able to play the certain type of defense we need. So constantly learning how to make the adjustments, how to make what happens in the off season to fit the picture for the main season.
So cool. We can use that as a segment to move to like chalk talk behind this, because you mentioned the skill set in developing it. During this time, like I said, my philosophy on how things are done, success leaves footprints. Once you figure out how to be successful in your program and what it is, it's to maintain it. You making adjustments. For instance, for us, you know, we'll meet today and we'll talk, but we'll get an opportunity for us. What's going to develop our off season and how we prepare our kids is we'll watch all our games we played this year. How we defended, what did our kids struggle with, what was the main defensive stuff and skills we took advantage of. We'll make our list and we'll move into that. When we get back to working out with our kids and what skills they need to have. So that's kind of how we'll get better. Is we'll understand it as a whole for a scheme wide. We'll see all the different actions that we need to prepare for defensively, you know, next year. And in the off season, we'll start to build in our drills to do it. I think you limit yourself. Most coaches limit themselves when I was coming up and I bought drill books. I spent a ton of money on drill books to this drill, passing drill, and do this. And that's good. People get a lot of money from it. But what I realized is somebody asked them to give them a drill for passing. They gave you the drill for passing. Told you what skills to work on. They don't tell you how to apply it. And when they tell you how to apply it, that might not work for you. So a lot of we do some drills that everybody across America do. And we do some drills that just specific to what we do here that you don't find in the book. That just right before practice, coach is sitting in your office telling you, hey, I want to work on, you know, our kids passing, cutting, and then getting in a ball screen. You can probably find a drill, but it don't fit our action. So I've been drawing on board in the assistant coach's office. This is what I want to do. This we're gonna rep. So a lot of times it's you coming up with the drill to fit whatever you're trying to teach, and it ain't from a book. It's just that I gotta get out of my head like this is what I need to work on. So I'm gonna line my kids up in whatever the alignment is, and we're a 4-out team, so I'm gonna work on the slide. So I'm gonna put the 2 guys at the slide. Then we're gonna work on them passing the ball and cutting through and driving at them and kicking. That's the drill. You don't need to go to a book to figure that drill out, because the book ain't telling you your specific needs for your team. So you really gotta learn your team. Now your kids are not only repping in a breakdown drill what your offense scheme is, so they're gonna get better, but they're getting more practice every day of repping it. So now there's no misbeat. We're gonna just really execute, because we ain't gonna do nothing else. Until you can't get this wrong and we're executing in sleep, you're not gonna do it. And kids hate it. They hate it, they hate it, they hate it, they hate it. They hate repetition, they hate it. And I tell them quick, like, you're gonna hate this. Because I'm gonna put 10 minutes on the clock. When that 10 minutes is done, if it's not to my expectation, we're still rolling it. I know we practiced one day, we did the same drill, 2-on-2, full court, man-to-man, for 15 minutes. It went longer, because they couldn't get it right. And they thinking, okay, it's 10 minutes, I just get through the drill. No. There's a certain way this is supposed to look, and it's gotta look this way every single time we line up to do it, or we're not moving on. So my practice is why I was like, because if you put a whole lot of drills and a whole lot of things you want to get covered in practice, I'm sure, unless you got some god-awful amount of practice time, you're not getting to do all of that. We say we're gonna work on a lot in practice sometime, and we're getting down there closer to the end on the offensive side. And we cut it out because it took so long up top to get it done. That was that way. So concepts, man. If you're trying to develop your concepts, look at the trends of the game. Look at the trends of the game. There's a great trend. And there's things to be said of what trends really work well, and the trends that don't. Because somewhere in the middle is the trend is to be consistent. Because the top trend, everybody's doing the top trend. Because that's what's winning. That's the one that's there. When dribble drive came through, it swept the country. Calipari, everybody's running it. It's some phase of dribble drive, 4 out, everywhere. And you're doing it. And then Davidson came through with the 5 out, so you got the dribble drive and you got the 5 out. Those are the most stable. Now here's UVA with the old fashioned 3 out, 2 in. You don't really see a whole lot. But somewhere between, but you can see, if you really watch him, Tony Bennett has changed a little bit. And he's going 4 out, 1 in. He's got the big, they can step out and shoot till 5 out. His offense is morphed to something a little different than when he first went there. So like I said, for him to be competitive in it, those things, so when you're trying to get your concept and believe in them, you got to fight for them every day, because the assistants you bring in, they have their own concept of how it's supposed to be that's there. So you got to sell your assistants on your concept. And yeah, you can do it, say, hey, coach, this is how I want to be done, but you need them to be able to understand enough to teach it. Is the key. So we're going to transition. Coach, I'll show you some of my concepts, show you how I structure my practice and off-season workout. And after that, if you got any questions about that, man, we'll finish up with, 10 minutes on there just to talk about overall strategy, how I got it done, because I think preparing and planning, that's the first step is how we wrote down. So, so to help now, Coach, we talked about the structure. So I'll tell you, we'll start on the offensive side, like the off-season side, and then kind of tell you how I plan. So for us, I sit down and we'll go in and we'll talk about offensive concepts and we'll talk about defensive concepts. There was that. So offense, let's just say, pick and roll, hollow, finishing in, like, just take those 3. So let's say that those are 3-point emphasis that we covered in, that's here. Obviously on defense, I always want to talk about rebounding. We always want to talk about protecting the paint, and now it's how the game is changing. We want to talk about that. So if we take those 3, I'm in my off-season meeting, and I'm talking to my staff, or if I'm sitting here and I'm brainstorming there, I'm going back, these are going to be the concepts that, all right, this off-season, clearly the list is going to be super long, and so you'll see fit. So now, when I'm coming back and I'm planning, what things out of the pick and roll do my kids need to know? What's the coverages there? So you're gonna work with the hedge, you're gonna work with the trap, you're gonna work with the switch. Now I'm gonna develop drills, 1-0, 2-0, whatever the case may be, for those guys to do those things. For us, high-low is a concept we use out of pick and roll. So it would really roll in to understand the hollow concept that's there. Finishing in the lane, so dribble drive deal. So it's a whole dribble drive, this deal. So you're gonna work on your pivots. You can work on, post moves. You can work on your one with run. Dribble moves. You work all those ordeals in that regard. And in there, now we go over here, rebounding. So this is 101 game rebound. Protecting the paint, help side defense, on the ball defense guard, defending the three, how to defend the drive and the kick, how to defend the roll and the play. Those are the things that we're thinking about as we move forward. This there. So let me see here. So as we rolling through, and let's take, as we roll into our off-season program, and we're getting ready to start, and I'm getting ready to structure it, I'd always label it. So we'll hit workout number 1. What's that time that we try to keep it, that if it's a 90-minute workout, which is like equivalent to what we do, that's there, we started, that's there. So we're always gonna come in and we'll rock out 10 minutes of free throws. Or form shooting. Think about this. Kids coming to the gym, they hoist up threes, they walk in there. We're really enforcing bad habit. So we structure that. Because they can't govern themselves. We come in, we put 10 minutes on the clock, they roll in there. So when we walk in there, they're all sitting there shooting free throws. They should be working on their form. That's there. Then we roll in, in a 90-minute one, 10 minutes. We call it our shooting station. And we do it different. It's there depending on the number. Sometimes we do partner shooting, 5-spot, wing to wing, coach. That's there, but it's all shooting. It's all catching, shoot, catching and getting into your shot. It's all form shooting. Starting at 15 feet, I tell them what distance they can shoot in. I tell them in that regard. From there, we roll 10 minutes, and it's a dynamic warm up. That's really stretch. In the dynamic warm up period, we roll in that. So now we're already, the teacher side, the PE side, the reason why I roll with it this way more so, they really get loose, they really get moving here, then you roll in the stretch and it kind of sets the tone, and it mirrors what we do in practice all the time. Once we roll from the dynamic warm-up, if you go back and we're talking about protecting the basket, protecting the paint, all that really starts with on-the-ball defense. And so when we roll in to there, we really do it. We go 10 minutes, and we doing our full court man principles. This is off season, in season, whatever. When we're a team, and we started 1-on-1. We progressed to 2-on-2. We rolled to 3-on-3. Later in the year, we rolled to 4-on-4. You never ever get to that drill and we play 5-on-5, because if we playing 5-on-5 in that drill, then we're doing something totally different. Like we're executing our stuff. There it gets a little different. We can talk about that's just the principles of how we defend. We defend no different in full court as we do there. We just practice getting in the gap. First is containing the ball, head on the ball, step above the ball, whatever the case may be. 2-on-2. So I asked this question. And man, it's probably subjective, but I asked the kids this question day one. Is the game of basketball played 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 3-on-3, 4-on-4, 5-on-5? Think about it. And, you know, let's take your traditional 4-out 1 in. And let's say the ball is right here. So clearly, we know we have a strong side and you have a weak side. So I asked this question on the ball, in the post, in the gap, on the ball. I mean, in help. Pause there. Game play 5-on-5, 2-on-2, 3-on-3, 4-on-4.
Depends on what half the ball on, right?
It depends on what half the ball on. Okay, you're close, but what number are we welcome? 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 3-on-3,
3-on-3 right now.
3-on-3, or 2-on-2.
Right.
But it's never played what?
5-on-5.
Right. And I think at that concept, that most people don't understand is, hey, when you're teaching the game and you're really working on it, the game is never played 5-on-5. It's not even played 4-on-4. We do 4-on-4 drills and you're teaching it. But in theory, the ball's on the strong side, it's going to be 3-on-3. If your post move, your post is going to dictate if it's 3-on-3 or 2-on-2. But these two guys are playing 2-on-2. They can screen for each other, they can cut. That's the whole concept that was there. These three guys are playing 3-on-3. That's what so in our concepts, we're teaching these kids how to play 3-on-3. We're teaching you what to do when you play 2-on-2. But you're never going to play 5-on-5. And most kids, so when you go into offseason, the kids want to roll out the ball and say, hey coach, I want to play. I'm going to play. Let us play. They playing 5-on-5. They playing that. So we don't. So we start 1-on-1. You know, we come back. Then we go 2-on-2. Get in the gap, pressure the ball. The guy that's on the ball always guards the ball. He guards the ball the same way he would guard it any other time. 2-on-2, you got a help defender. You introduce your help defender. But the guy guarding the ball, he's playing 1-on-1. The guy help is playing 2-on-2. When we go to 3-on-3, it's the same theory. The guy guarding the ball is guarding the ball. Everybody, the other two people are what? 2-on-2. That's what. So when you learn, they call it the building blocks. So we do this as our fundamental every day. This day, yeah, we can be in the full court. We can be in there. Then we roll down and we do the infamous 4-on-4 shoulder. Guess what? The concept doesn't change. It's just in the half court, so we're not moving it when they get bold. So now you already see, man, we're 50 minutes into practice. That concept of defense, and we wanted to keep the ball out of the paint, because really this is talking about keeping it out of the paint, and you're building it up. That was there. So now we're 50 minutes in. We got a good one in. So now we're rolling with the last 40. In the off season, we don't ever play 5-on-5. In practice, we go through whatever our defense, we run our defensive scheme. Then we flip it in, that's there, and then we go positional groups in the off season. So in positional groups, and I call it offensive awareness. Offensive awareness. And the reason it's offensive awareness is talking about how to make you more aware of the conceptual thing. So here, we do post players. They'll work inside moves. It's that finishing in the lane piece that we had that's there. P and R rolls. And that would be the post. They go to there with Taj, he got 10 minutes. He understands whatever drill. That's the concept, how to finish in the lane. Deep into where we post up at, the positioning that was there. That was here. Guards would be the exact opposite. using the P&R that was in there, and they're working on pivots in the lane, how to get in there and finish on it. And they repping it for 10. The thing you'll find is it has to be taught, your assistants have to know 10 minutes. In this 10-minute period, you're doing these two things. Because for your assistants, it's gonna get boring to you. So they're gonna go through and they're gonna say, all right, man, we done done. Each kid then just set a number. Hey, let's make 10. Setting 10 gives them a cop out. Once we make 10, it can be a bad 10 on footwork, it can be a great 10 on footwork. Once they get to 10, they don't what? The drill doesn't stop. So we don't. This is what we're doing. We're repping it. I'm on the clock. I may go 5 minutes of inside move. We're gonna finish up the last 5 minutes with that, but we're gonna get quality rep. These are the only two things I want done at this point in time. Nothing more, nothing less. You chunk the information. Then you come in and we're using the P&R that's this day. Now, when we come back in here, we'll roll back to it. We'll play, 3-on-3, or we'll play 4-on-4 cutthroat. 3-on-3, 4-on-4, we'll play that cutthroat. That's simply, we're using these concepts. So if it's 3-on-3, then it can be 2 guards and a big. If it's 4-on-4, it's generally 3 guards and 1 big. And each group could be 3 guards. It's the perimeter game, inside working the high-low game, but it's all P&R stuff. They gotta score off the ball, you gotta pass, you gotta cut. You gotta do whatever, that thing, and if they're not doing it, the team comes off, the next team going offense, you keep track. So it builds upon it. It's there. So now we're 60 minutes in, 70 minutes in, you got the last 20, so we come on the backside of the last 20, and it's kind of like we finish up with free throws. We finish up with free throws and form shoot, so they can get out. And we leave the buffer in case you want to run over, especially here. You can add more time, there is a flexible, but we roll in about 90, and as you can see there, it's all skill based. It's all concept based, it's all skill based. We do a whole lot of teaching, we film it. So we come back and watch and we get better. That was that. The thing is, so when I say that we switch it and we change it a little bit, on the flip side, we start the next practice, this never changes. This never changes. Now, down here, can change, give or take. But we always come back in the next day, and the times may change in the next workout, where, okay, now we'll go 15 minutes here. With the full court man, we're going to introduce a new concept. But we don't introduce a new concept on day 2 of the workout. It's 3 weeks in. So my workouts are planned this year. I keep a track of every workout from even when I was in North Carolina coaching. I have just about every practice, not all, but just about every practice plan. And I flip back and say, what was I doing with this team at this point in time last year? Where does this team compare to that? And the skill set, maybe it was a drill. There are drills I did at one place that I never did here that probably would help here. You gotta go back and look. But this would be off season. What's so instrumental of it is, in season, it's the same way we're going 2.5 hours for practice. I may throw up here above this, there may be a 10-minute session before practice where it's offensive walkthrough, we're repping those 25 sets that we introduced this in there. Once we get to the dynamic warm-up, I limit the standing and walking around. So anything that wants to be taught that's there is pre-practice. I had an opportunity to go watch UVA, and I was like, man, UVA this year, they do more before they actually start practicing and stretching than I do. They maximize their time. So we came in and we did this pre-practice thing, and pre-practice starts before stretching. So that was all our form shooting, all our individual, all the stuff we would put here, we put up here. And then down here, we can get more conceptual. We can add, we can go to 5, we can do a whole lot of different. That was the setup. It never changed. So the kids knew what they expect. They come through, they come run there, oh, here we go. Now I call out a drill. Here we go. That's how I did forget one. I did. And we up here, we generally have, right after this, we used to do a 10-minute 4-verse-4 closeout drill. So it's teaching, because that's part of the definitive drive, keep out of the way. And it's teaching, that's what we teach. So now when you say, how does it help you transition this kid to go to the college level, they're used to this. This is the skill that I need to see on film that you can do. Because these skills fits all systems. High school teams press 32 minutes a game, watch a college game. They don't press for 32 straight minutes a game. So when you're getting all your shots off of turnovers and off of presses and the kid in high school, now when you gotta come down and tell the kid you gotta sit in the stands, you gotta play 2-on-2, you gotta guard somebody, they can't do that.
Right.
But then also, so you build it, so you gotta constantly, because this is the stuff that they do. Any question about designing?
This is great. So coming in the regular season, you keep everything safe, but you'll just put maybe the structure for the, like you said, the offense and defense, what offense strategies or plays, you add that to the front end for the teaching.
So let's do this, so you can see it. So that's off-season workout. There was that. So we're gonna go practice. So up here, and rules have changed. So you can get your days in. So I don't do trials. I do trials, but I don't call them trials. We go in, and those kids that come in and they trying out for the team, you gotta be able to, for you to say you're better than a kid on my team that's there, you gotta do that stuff that I like them doing. So you're gonna come in, you're gonna have to play 4-on-4. You're not gonna roll the balls out and let you play 5-on-5. You gotta go through the skill work. Show me you can pass and catch. Show me you can do those things. Instead, so practice 1, and the first official day, let's say practice was from 5 to 7:30. Is the time to practice. So they would generally start, coach, 4 p.m. study hall, and it would go to like 4:45. As season started to go, they roll in and practice started at 5, 4 p.m. They'll be dressed and we'll roll in and we'll watch film. And we'll watch a film of, in that team. So practice started at 5. Obviously we come in at 5. You're doing free throws. 5-10. Shooting groups. That goes a little bit. We try to get them in the 15. So then if we get here, we'll go offensive walkthrough or install, and we'll have a script or whatever. We roll it through the script. Then, after that, we'll do the dynamic warm-up. After the dynamic warm-up, we go into 4-4 closeout, full court, shell, twist, offensive off awareness, and finishes right on up. So it only gets added on the top side and the time change.
Okay.
So that's what it, and then it would finish. You could just finish below this with everything else. Now, when I say a concept change, when we're in shell, if we get ready for a game, and shell drill is where we work and we rep whatever the other team is going to do.
Okay.
So in our shell drill, if you're a 4-out team, with shell, we're going to be in the 4-out. We're going to be defending and working hard every day in the 4-out. But we're not changing our concept. You're just getting used to seeing what they're doing. This is how we would defend it in the 4-out. But in our preseason, our kids are going to rep it in the 4-out, they'll rep it in the 3-out. They'll be able to do our defensive cover all in the preseason. So now by the time we get there, this year was tough because we got a lot of new kids that didn't know. But when you think about it, we have Ronnie was a veteran group, and them juniors now have been through this 2 years, and them sophomores, and they really got it, and they understand it's running itself because you coming in, Now it's all mental. So we're gonna out execute you because we're gonna know what you're doing, and it don't change because the kids have been repping it all summer. So we come in and so we make those days in the summer count to see it because the more it's in front of them, the more comfortable they get and exposed to it. Now that's when they can really take off and start participating and creating because they get exposed to an awful lot this day. So that was it, and that's like I said, that's huge for us in the concept wise coaches because I don't think a lot of people do this.
Right.
I think in your RCD kids are used to like rolling on the ball
Right.
and they're playing. So now coach needs to get down and get a stop. And here's how we're gonna get the stop. We get the stop based on this stuff.
Right.
That was in there. Any other practice ideas and concept?
So, as these concepts are used as a varsity coach, so did the JV implement, did you find coaches that were going to implement the same strategies? Or did you let them kind of freelance? Or this was just like the whole entire program in JV?
So I've done it both, I did it both ways. Mm-hmm. And there's pros and cons to doing it both ways. In theory, most programs, the successful ones, their JV team is a carbon copy of their varsity team. That is the model and the plan that is 100%, I feel is a go-to. But I don't feel the JV team should do all that the varsity team does for just guidance purposes. So it's got to be a conversation, but you got to set that expectation early. Now as at Verona, I didn't set it early. I allowed them to JV to do what they wanted to do. And then when I went through that trying to rechannel what we were doing that was there, and I was like, okay, everybody's going to do this, but we're going to be close to doing these concepts. Then it was like, well, we were so used to doing this, it became tough. So what I did here, I had two teams here that were Rich playing. My developmental team practices with my varsity team and goes through every workout. So every kid is learning the same thing. So now it's a plug and play model versus a reteach model. Right. So whenever I plug you in here, it's a plug in and you play, you get the same thing, you go through the same standards that's there. So everybody's on the same one. So now to answer that question, yes, if I went back into a high school setting, my whole program is gonna, so in the off season they do, my JV guy and varsity, they work together. So I was like, if we working together, it'd be awesome. Now, why get in season and you do something totally different? You should run these basic concept of things so you plug and play. There's in that regard. How during that, I guess what I didn't say is, so the free throws, kids on their own, coaches, you know, we're talking about practice and we're getting that. Shooting groups, depends on what you're doing in your shooting groups. If it's just, if you 3-man 2-ball and just shooting, the kids are shooting, the kids are at a basket at a station to themselves. But if it's this in the season and we're doing positional shooting, then the positional coach is running that drill. Head coach, I'm overseeing both sides. And when I'm overseeing both sides, I'm watching how you execute. I'm watching your practice habit. I'm watching your attention to detail. I'm watching all those things that they could care nothing about that's gonna help in practice in the game. That's what Coach Lacey watching. So I'm getting you if you're taking game shots. I'm getting you if you're not coming off the cut, sitting down. I'm on you for the technical stuff, not the make or the miss. It's the technical. Also, when we go through the work, the walkthrough, then that's me teaching it. This is the play we're here. This is how we run the ABC. You know that as the season goes on, it transitions to the offensive coordinator, to Taj calling it out, and it's generally like two groups: green on one side, white on the other side, whatever subs they are. One team runs it, call the play out. One team run it, they watch the other team run it. Then you go back and forth, and we work ourselves through it. And they do it. And whether we use it coming up, they get exposed and they do the same thing all the time over and over. Dynamic warm-up, coach-led. Coach led, no talking. Coach, the reason why I say coach led, kids gonna half stretch. They hate stretching. They don't know how to stretch. At this level, you gotta take care of your body. You have to take care. So it's 10 minutes, coach led. I give them a script of the stretches and the dynamic warm-ups we want to use. They do the same routine before practice that they would do before a game when they stretch up here. You take out the push-ups and the sit-ups on game days, but that's it. Push-ups, sit-ups there, but it's the same dynamic warm-up routine. So they ain't learning nothing new on a game day. Then if we do nothing, every day our approach is the same. This day is coach led. Now, as you see, we get into the full court man-to-man principles. We're doing the 4-on-4. That's when I talked about, offensive coordinator on 4-on-4. They can watch and make sure the kids get in triple threat. Make sure they pass the basketball. If you've been one-on-one, make sure you're taking care of you, making efficient move. Defensive guy, he's handling. Make sure you're in the right defensive spot. Make sure you're closing out properly. So this is being coached every rep by a guy. I'm orchestrating, passing the ball, teaching her the drill, the raw flow of the drill. So it wouldn't really be a defensive guy coaching the offensive guy. Even if you're in your position, I understand sometimes you do it. I tell my coaches, you got to talk to your kids at a position. So it's a 3-tiered system. Coach Lacey, assistant coaches, and then it's the positional groups, and then it's the team or deal. Yes, you was a coach, well, team should go first. Yeah, but if you read a book that Urban Myers wrote when he was at Ohio State, he talked about each positional group on a team being leaders amongst themselves to be, so you had the quarterbacks group, the running back, and they had to vow to be the best group on the team. Because at the end of it, if I'm really good, and my assistants and the coaching staff are really good, their positional group's going to be really, really good as an individual. And all collectively, we're all going to be a better team that was in it. So you should talk to your position. You should set expectations for practice. You should recap so you get a chance to talk to both sides. So you still got to know both sides of the ball, but when we're in a live setting, my offensive coordinator, you just watch the offense. When we're briefing the team, you talking about team offensive issues. If he hasn't did, he was going to talk defense. He's going to talk defense with his individual, his inside guys got to find the post better. We're not doing this. That would be there because it's probably going to come from a directive from me. I try. If I'm briefing them, I brief the whole team on we all have to do this as general in nature. Then make the assistant coaches of their positional group get them for positional stuff. If I ain't feel your post players box out, I'm telling you first. You gotta fix the issue. I'm gonna make this general comment, hey, we as a group gotta do it, but you know when they come there. So I'm not gonna go to your position group and tell them what they should be doing. I've been in times in the game and say, hey, coach, your guards gotta get better. Your guards gotta, so I'm holding you accountable for your position. So hold the assistant accountable, make sure they get there. Because at the sense when you gotta evaluate them, what are you evaluating them on? Is the key. Most of them gonna say, man, well, I don't know what you're looking for in me as an assistant. Whatever you're looking for, evaluate them on it. Don't tell me you're a coach, go show me. Because we all can coach it.
Right.
And you can run. You know, you coming in, you're a new guy, you know how to build a practice plan. You've done it when you was at the JV. You write your own practice plans and AAU. So me coming here, me telling you, I can't tell you, you were assistants on me, how you develop a practice plan. You should know that. I can tell you how I need you to make this a little bit more efficient, where we need to clean up our time, where we're going to maximize our time. I can tell you those things and how we use the time, but I can't tell you how to maximize, how to write a practice plan. So I'm not going to tell you how to coach, I'm going to tell you how we're going to be efficient at what you need to do. You got to use it to make it fit. And that's what I'm going to evaluate you on. Because for me to sit down here and say, okay, in this dynamic warm-up, you got to make sure we do this, this, and this. I'm wasting a lot of time. I need a guy to say, hey man, we're going to do dynamic warm-up, these are the stretches. I don't care if you put them in one straight line, 2 groups, sideline to sideline, that's up for you. These 10 stretches need to come, in 10 minutes they need to stretch. That's what I'm evaluating you on. Your guards need to keep the ball in front. Post by that. That's it. So when you're in the individual, as a head coach, be a part of your all-season program. In the first couple years, you got to be in there and you gotta be teaching the drills, and you gotta set the tone, and you gotta set the expectation. Don't leave that to chance. Like, come in with a plan. Hey, this is the practice plan. Now I'm gonna get in, and I'm gonna jump in, and I'm gonna demonstrate. Don't take over the group, but get an assistant coach, tell them, hey, this you wanna be, but you can go participate in this drill. Said, he brought it, hey guys, pump the engine, catch, shot, fake, participate in the drill. Not necessarily, because you're still leading the drill. This and that, but you want to be a part of the skill development, and you want to go spend time down on the other end to get watched. The little things I do, coach, I have a position, I can walk out there in that gym, and there's a position I can go, and a spot in the gym I can go, doing practice, and I can see the whole floor. And it'd be on one side, and you think, hey, coach down here, he's watching just the guard, but I got the post players, and I'm watching through the whole thing. So I see it, and then make notes. I'm constantly making notes on what has to get better. Just because I see it doesn't mean I always address it. Some things don't need to be addressed as a person by person. If it's 3 months in, you're still telling the kid to box out or get in a defensive stance. There's two things. Either he can't get in a defensive stance or he doesn't want to get in a defensive stance. There's no need you telling him you need to find Johnny or Joe that's going to get in a defensive stance and you coach him up at this level. And you need, because those are guys you gotta have to win with. And you gotta be able to do that. So that's it. So my evaluation technique, to me, is simple. Because I'm evaluating you in the system and what we do. And if you can't get through this at the level I want it done, this might not be for you. Part words before we close, some things that older guys told me while I was here that I would share is this. Before you make that scheme adjustment where you go against your scheme, they use a tier. You introduce it. It doesn't work. Change how you introduce it. Change how you are giving the direction to do this. Reteach it, teach it in a different way. Once you reteach it in a different way, they still don't get it. Change the personnel. Change the person that's executing, doing whatever it is they need to be doing. If the next person can't get it done and just didn't change this there, now you probably need to change the scheme. But most people, this ain't working, so they go change the scheme. They don't even try to reteach it. So now you got to figure, no, we're going to be consistent. And what we teach, those concepts go through whatever. So when I went to 3 out, 2 in, it was still carried the same ball control, high low, getting the ball inside, taking a good shot. It was a 4 out was. So it was not a tough adjustment for my kid. We just changed alignment. That was there. Easy thing if you think about it, concept-wise. All the stuff you see up here is we move people on offense. Toughness, we talk about toughness and we preach toughness. And toughness can be showed on defense. Like football, if you line up and we run the football, and I run it down your throat, that's a toughness thing. Right. We tougher than you. That's me telling you I'm tougher than you. Passing is finesse. Defensively, everybody said that I know, the first thing you have to do in a defensive game, you got to control the line of scrimmage, you got to stop the run. That's for your defense. That's your toughness. Because passing is looked at as being not tough. Some teams come out here and pass, and you think, man, that's finesse. They finesse. Those tough teams, when it's come game time to be won, we handed the ball off and it said, oh, that's 3 yards in a cloud of dust. This really is. If you get 4 yards a clip, 3 yards a clip, 3 on first, 4 on second, now it's 3rd and 3. You get 3 yard boom, it's the first down, you keep the chain moving. So you got a ball. So in basketball, I feel toughness is scoring the ball in the paint. Whether it's by drive, whether it's by throwing it in there, whether it's by getting to the free throw line. So we preach that concept. I'm not tied to saying I want to score the ball in the lane. I'm not tied to 4 out. I'm not tied to 3 in. I'm not tied to flex. Whatever you feel is it. I'm tied to what? Getting the ball in the lane and scoring in the lane. And I want to teach you as many ways to get the ball as there because the game is changing. That's where I think the game has to go. Defensively, it's about shooting threes now. It's changing the game. You got to be able, if you can't defend the 3, you're in trouble. So my goal is, what we do defensively, we're predicated on defending the 3 first. But the toughest thing is, we're not gonna let you score on the inside. We're gonna force you to shoot three, and we're gonna learn how to defend it on there. So I don't play a lot of zone, straight up zone. We're a man-to-man team, so we're gonna do man-to-man. Whether it's controlling the tempo, there's a whole lot of stuff, Coach. We could go hours for this there, how we do it, and like I said, we think different. I think different. Most people think in the concept, you want an up-tempo team, you can play up-tempo. Up-tempo don't mean crazy shots.
Right.
But kids think, hey, we're gonna play fast. I'm gonna jack up a three, go back down to Grinnell system. Because Lacey, no, as a head coach, you control tempo on the defense. I want to speed you up. I'm gonna put pressure on you. If I want to slow you down, I'm gonna give you some type of total pressure. But I want an up-tempo game, but I'm gonna speed you up defensively, because that's why I can control it. I can't control what you do on the offensive side. So those are the things, man. We go back and forth, but I take those principles when I scout film and other teams play, and I figure out your style of play. You want to play fast? Yeah, I'm gonna slow you down. I'm gonna figure out how to slow you down to mask of what we do. If you want to play slow, we're gonna come in and we're gonna do the same thing, but we're gonna change one little piece of it that I feel is gonna define the weakness that can get it one kid going out this way. So it was there, man. So any other questions first?
No. I mean, I have a question, but like behind the scenes.
Okay.
Question, not about that. It's about basketball, but it's not about on the court, whatever.
Okay. But once again, man, we do thank you, Coach, for coming in today. So in closing, please understand that the game of basketball, Coach Lacey doesn't have all the answers. All the decisions that are always ever made by you and your program have to be made for the betterment of your program. Should always cease to get better in your team and move it. The game is changing. You don't have to do all the changes that's in the game, but you should be aware of the changes that are in the game, because you may see them and face them down the road. Please make sure that you leave a 5-star review. You rate us, leave a comment. Check out our Facebook page at Andrew Lacey Basketball. Check out our Instagram page at Andrew Lacey Basketball as well. Shoot us some questions, about things that you want to talk about. Coach came in, he spent his time today, spent a day with us here. I'm trying to make his program better. Even if you want us to come to you and talk about ways to help make your program better on a more specific level, please, send us a message on one of our platforms that are there. And then check this out if you want to see the live viewing of the X's and O portion or just the show in general. Please check us out on YouTube. Until next week, we appreciate you for having us and letting us take part in helping you get better for basketball.
Thank you for listening to It Takes What It Takes podcast with Coach Andrew Lacey. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast, streaming on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Google Play. And don't forget to leave us a 5-star review.